going to intro it and then kind of, because I took us down the wrong path last time. So you here, I'll read it. That way I'm not translating it. So
that'd be great. Thanks.
Our favorite task managers.
Yeah.
That's what great. I got.
Great intro. Smart ass. Did I do that?
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Better Merch, Better Marketing podcast. Super excited for you to be joining us today. I am one of your hosts, Kirby Hasseman. Joining me, as she does every single week, Jade Kreider from Colorado Springs, Colorado. How are you, dear?
I am so good. The sun is shining. We always say something about the weather. My puppy's happy. It's a good day. It
is a good day. Yeah. The sun I can see is kind of peeking through the windows here, which is always good. It's this time of year, the weather is schizophrenic in Ohio, and that's pretty standard, right? Like some days, yesterday it was blustery and 45 mile an hour winds and 40 degrees. And then today it's kind of sunny and nice. So we'll ride it out while we got it. So things are pretty good here. I know you've been pretty crazy busy with work. And I appreciate your hard work on that. And, that's what we work for, right?
Heck yeah. We're ready for it. I'm going to need a glass of wine tonight, but we're ready for it.
Fair. That's fair. And I would love to join you. So that's really good. Okay. So if you are new around here, the Better Merch, Better Marketing podcast is brought to you by Hasseman Marketing. We are your merch and marketing partners. You can learn more about us at hassemanmarketing.com. And we've got all kinds of cool stuff on the website, including the target marketing playbook, a hiring playbook for those of you in HR. So please go check that out. So let's dive in today. I'm going to let you lead off the first topic just because you told me about it today. I didn't know anything about it. So you can kind of give a little talk about the craziness that is Trader Joe and their bags.
Yes. Trader Joe's released another bag. So they did these last year and they did them in regular colors. They're mini tote bags is what they are. And they retail for $2.99. They're mini. So they're really small. So I don't really get the hype, truthfully. But last year they did regular colors. This time they did pastels. They are... and people went nuts over them. It was crazy. So there were people that waited in line for like 5 hours for these tote bags. And they're now retailing on eBay for like $1,000. Now I've seen that you could get like all 4 colors for $1,000. I've also seen that you could get individually for $1,000.
What a bargain.
And if you get a steal, they're like $75 right now.
Yeah.
For a mini tote bag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That they probably bought for $1 or less.
Yeah.
Probably less.
Well, I don't know. We'll see. So that's so a couple things. You told me about this and then you sent me a video so that I would at least have some basic knowledge on this.
Yes.
And I have some bigger thoughts, but my first thought when I thought this is like, don't talk to me about us having real problems in the world. Like these are first world problems when we've created an economy around tote bags. That's just crazy town. I don't understand it. Obviously, we're a little jaded in this, pardon the pun. But it's true. We do have access to a lot of this branded merch. And so we are probably a little jaded when it comes to this. That being said, I don't get the idea. And to be fair, I won't wait in line 15 minutes for a restaurant I love. So like I am wildly impatient. So I'm probably not the right person on this. But that seems crazy to me. But I do think there's some takeaways that folks can grab from this. So I can give you a couple thoughts, or if you want to go first, give me your 2 cents, whichever.
My 2 cents is that number one, it's crazy. I wouldn't do it. However, I listened to a podcast the other day and it's the Jasmine Star podcast is which one it was. It's one of my new ones that I'm really liking. And
she's great.
She actually did a whole podcast episode around creating a cult-like following for your business and tips and tricks. And it's really interesting because you talk about things like Trader Joe's, like Apple, and how you make it like a whole thing that people kind of have a cult-like following around, which cult-like sounds aggressive, but it is a thing. People are obsessed with certain things and they are ride or die for it. And so it's worth listening to if it's something that intrigues you, because there's clearly lessons to learn. If you can get somebody to pay $75 for a little tote bag, as ridiculous as it is, you're doing something right with your marketing because people are doing it.
Yeah. I think the couple thoughts that pop into my head, and these aren't fully, I'm sure there's other things that we might come up with as we talk about this. But number one is that Trader Joe's clearly has they've created a brand that matters in the lives of people. And I love that. That's really cool. That's something I think as business owners, as entrepreneurs, as marketers, we all aspire to have passionate fans like that. So kudos to them for doing that. The other thing is, I had a conversation earlier today where somebody I didn't know, we were having this conversation and he was talking about branded merch. And he's like, yeah, we try not to do cheap stuff. And, I hate to call it this, but it's the, junk and whatever. And it's like, first of all, I'm always fascinated when someone insults you to your face and they don't know they're doing it. Like, yes, take the thing that I've built my life around and tell me it's shit. Thank you. I appreciate it. And so I smiled and went on with my life. But it's fascinating to me that people like that generally don't understand that done right, you can create a movement. Yes, because you've done shitty stuff your whole life, that's the response you've gotten. That's not merch's fault. That's the execution of said merch. So I say that to say the second lesson of this is that you really can do, when you understand your market, you've created a movement, you know exactly what your audience loves, you can create something like this where it's a cult in that way. So that's pretty cool. That's the second thing. And then the third thing that I've talked about for years about this is build in scarcity, right? So when you see merch drops done well, and you've seen some cool collaborations where it's like Crocs and KFC or this, and they put these two brands together, they drop them and then they're like, oh, we sold out in, 7 minutes. Well, they did 1,500 of them. They didn't do 1 million of them, right? So they built in the scarcity, and scarcity does equate to value, right? The reason that diamonds are more valuable than coal is that, they're more scarce. And so I think when you've created a good brand, which is sort of the first thing, you create merch that actually matters to that brand, and then you create scarcity around it, you can create a movement like this that people talk about it. So those are sort of my three thoughts around it.
And it's funny because you said that and it sparked a thought of, I had a conversation the other day with somebody because I was explaining what I do. And I was like, there's a lot more merch that you don't realize is merch. You just don't realize is it's branded merch.
You're not thinking of it like that.
You don't think about it like that. Because just because it says Hasseman Marketing, Nike apparel is still merch. It's Nike merch. And so somebody was wearing a hoodie from the place that my husband works at. And I was like, you get that's branded merch. And she's like, well, no, because it's where my husband works. And I was like, cool. You're advertising for where your husband works right now.
Yeah.
You are literally doing that for him. And so you just don't realize it because you don't see it as that. And so it's such a simple thing that you just don't realize.
And here's the thing, done right, you don't feel that way.
Yes.
Right? When it's a cool piece, you're like, oh, I love this. So it does not that it doesn't matter what logo's on it. It does, hopefully, for you, hopefully it aligns with your purpose and your mission and your personal values. But man, when it does those things and you love it, I wear this quarter zip way too much. It's I think it's Perry Ellis or Penguin piece. I just love it. Right. So the logo's
John has a couple hats that he's like, I don't know. Jade got me this hat and I love it. I don't care what it says on the top, that were random samples. And so now we've ordered, of course, those samples for him, or real hats for him. But he doesn't care what it says. He just loves the quality of the item. So he doesn't care that he's technically branding some random company that we don't know about. So just kind of a lesson learned kind of thing. So
yeah, fair. Yeah, I think that when you do those things, you can create a movement around your stuff. But I do think that it takes time to build the brand up, right? But most people are just not thoughtful, and they don't curate their merch this thoughtfully. So kudos to Trader Joe's for doing it well. Yeah. I still think it's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but the idea that they've done this, good for you. So that's my take on that. Yeah. So good. Anything else on that topic?
I think we're good.
Okay. So let's talk about tariffs. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's been a thing here lately. Yeah. And the thing is they're on again, they're off again. This is not a political discussion or debate, but
Nope.
what matters to me is that it's affecting all of us,
Yeah.
whether it's the goods we buy, whether it's at the grocery store, at the car dealership.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality of it is, let's just say it out loud, a lot of what we do is imported, right?
Yep.
And much of it is imported from China. Now, I will say that our industry's done a better job of sourcing from other countries, but right now there's going to be a tariff on most countries and all that sort of thing. So what we sort of wanted to do was just give you some things to look for, things that you can do as you're listening to this podcast that can have a positive impact, or lessons that we've kind of learned from this these tariffs. So I don't know, you want to go back and forth? How do you want to handle this, Jade?
That works.
All
You
right.
go first.
All right. So the first thing I would say, and I think probably Jade will have this as well. If you have been working on a project for a while and you have pricing for a project, move on it. And this is not a sales thing. It doesn't matter if you're buying from us or from anybody else. Like, that price is going to change.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Period.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you want to keep that pricing that you've already got, move on it while it's still good, because I think even if folks are saying they're going to hold the pricing, great, but I wouldn't bank my marketing budget on that. So that would be kind of lesson one, is that if you have something in-house and you know you're going to do it sooner rather than later. I'm
laughing because we took a completely different approach to this one. I didn't really give him any insight on this. I just did it as lessons that I have learned from tariffs.
Oh, okay.
So my first one was, how much stuff is made in China?
Yeah. All of it.
You know that there's a good amount that's made. Everything is made in China. I didn't know that. I mean, I knew, but you don't register how much of it is truly made in China until suddenly it's a lot more expensive if it's made in China. And that sounds like a really dumb thing. Everything. And it kind of goes into my next point, but I want you to go
ahead.
Because, okay, so my next point was how many designer brands that you are paying a luxury price for are made in China. One of the trends on TikTok right now is that all the Chinese manufacturers are coming out and saying, hey, those LV bags that you like, those Louis Vuitton bags, if you buy them from us, they're $10. It's the same thing. We make both. Because now suddenly it's literally cheaper to buy stuff with the tariffs on it than it is to buy the brand name stuff right now. And you knew that was happening. You knew that it's clearly getting marked up. You know it's being manufactured somewhere else. But to see it happening, to see the Lululemon brands being sold at a lower price, I just didn't know. And so this has been a lesson for me. It's been kind of an eye-opener for me. So that's kind of how I looked at this, of just wow.
So I'm going to riff off of what you just said, because this is the reason. If you've heard me say, and I know you have, but if you're listening to this and you've ever heard me say, don't buy Yeti tumblers, that's why, right? Yes. Because the Viking tumbler from one of our suppliers, which is $9 imprinted with your logo on it, is the same tumbler. It's the same tumbler. It comes out of the same factory. But what's interesting, though, on the other side of that, Jade, is I've talked to men, I talk to people all the time about this. And you know what many of them do? They buy the Yeti tumbler anyway, because the brand matters to them. And so that's kind of an interesting lesson too. It's yes, those are very similar to the Lululemon pants, but they don't say Lululemon. So
they don't say Lululemon.
So I don't believe that they're Lululemon. You know what I mean? That's the power of branding. That's the power.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought it was such an eye opener to me, because again, this is a TikTok thing. It's what's happening. A lot of the companies, because they're getting essentially backlash from the Lululemons, from the Nike, whatever. I'm not outing any brands, but they're getting backlash because of the tariffs. And so they're like, screw you, we'll sell it direct. And so they're all selling it on different sites. And it's been very eye opening of just oh, and suddenly it's funny. I almost have more of an appreciation for stuff that's American made. Not that I won't buy the dupes, but suddenly the fact that Zippo lighter is American made, it's intriguing to me. Suddenly I'll spend the extra $7 because that Zippo lighter also has a lifetime warranty. It's just one example, but just like sometimes you're better off to spend a little bit more money, but it's made here and it's made here and you know what it's from and like it's almost got that brand name because it's made here. So I've learned lessons and that's where I went with it. So you can still give your tips, but that's where I took the topic.
Yeah, no, and I think that's interesting. The challenge is, and one of the tips is going to be to look for domestically sourced options, and that's a great option. The problem is not everything can be, and not that it isn't, it can't be. And even if you could, you're still going to have to import the parts from outside of the country. So it's like, don't get me wrong. If you have domestic made in the USA options, and we do, right? Like we have some domestically made options that we can share. Not all of them can be done. And so sometimes that's an oversimplification, right? Yes. Like, well, just if everybody would just buy, we had this conversation last week, right? We had somebody wanting to source, not you and I, but our company.
Oh, okay. I was like, what?
So they wanted made in the USA. Or actually, no, they just said they wanted something made that wasn't made in China. That was it. Not made in China. And so, which is great. That's fine. We'll go to work and we'll find something.
Right.
But we found one that was exactly the same. And the one from China was $4. And the made in America one was $12.50 per piece. It's fine. We can do both. Your choice. But it's funny how, people are like, yes, I must do this. And then you give them the price and they're like, well,
right.
And so it's
we
fine.
Eco-friendly. Like, it's 3 times the price. Well, maybe
the earth will be fine.
Okay. One more cup won't hurt. And I'm frankly the same. We're all guilty,
so I just say that to say, don't get me wrong. That is one of the things you should do is look for those domestically made things, but they're not all an option, whether we want them to be or not. So the other thing I would say is confirm quotes, right? Yeah. So if you've gotten a quote and you think, and this is something that you and I have discussed, is that we have, before all this went down, we're working on projects that are going to be in the fall, right? Yes. And you and I've had projects where we're like, hey, I know we sent you that price, but if you want that price, you need to order it now. We're not trying to be salespeople or whatever, but in the fall, the price is just going to be different. And so the advice to you
that
is
quote
just
is going to expire.
Yeah, just understand that, and so that's a big piece of advice. It's not worth panicking over. We don't want to freak anybody out, but I do think that this is one of those moments where you're like, okay, I know I'm going to do that order of sweatshirts, or I know we're going to need more writing instruments. I know, like, we reordered this particular item over and over again. If you got room in your storage, this might be the moment to front load that order a little bit, just to save yourself some money, because we just don't know what's going to happen in 6 months. And so it's just our advice.
And to pile it on top of it, I think it's interesting because it's one of those things that I feel like we did learn a little bit in COVID, but it's being pushed again right now, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Be a human. Like, people, everything is chaotic right now. Nobody can control what's going on. We were saying it earlier this morning with a completely different topic, but just like, life is crazy right now and nobody really knows what's going on fully. Try and give grace. Be human with everybody. Yeah. This is not just towards your salespeople. Be nice to your salespeople, because I will cry. But
for sure.
Like, with everything you're doing, people are struggling more than you realize right now. So this is my heart to heart with you. Be a human being and be patient with people. Give them a break. Give them an extra 24 hours to reply to you, because life is chaotic right now. So, and I've found that across the board. All my friends that I'm talking to, they're like, I just can't keep up right now. I'm like, I know. What's in the air? Like, so anyways, on to the next thing.
Okay.
Our next... Sorry, you go. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to intro it and then kind of, because I took us down the wrong path last time. So you here, I'll read it. That way I'm not translating it. So
that'd be great. Thanks.
Our favorite task managers.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
Great intro. Smart ass. Did I do that? Anyways, my next topic, I feel like, is a thing I'm constantly looking for, is, you can keep giggling, I'm going to keep talking, is our favorite task managers. There's a lot of different platforms across everything, and people talk about this a lot. And so I just thought we'd give our 2 cents for anybody and everybody to pitch in on. I already know Kirby's, but I think it'd be a fun thing for us to just talk about the different options that are out there.
So in other words, productivity apps and things that help you get things done, right?
Yep.
So I do know what we're talking about. Okay.
You do know what we're talking about. You can go first.
Okay. So, there's a lot of, like you said, there's tons of productivity apps out there. I kind of live in two spaces, really. And the two spaces I live are in Outlook. So I use my calendar, and I've done a better job of that, I would say, in the last 6 months of trying to, I always joke that if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. And man, I said that to my wife. Yes, you told me that we were having dinner with the in-laws. You told me we were doing this, but did it get on my calendar? Because if it didn't,
it doesn't exist.
I don't know what to tell you. Right? So I do live from my calendar. That being said, the other one I use a lot is Trello. Trello is, you can get it on the app, the app is good, not great, but I like the desktop version of it better. It is where I keep my to-dos. And then I actually, and I don't remember where I got this from, but I actually have a week. You can actually make Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I put cards for my to-dos in those days. That helps me kind of plan out to go, oh, that's the day I'm really going to spend time working on that presentation. It helps me kind of schedule out proactive stuff because the whirlwind gets to us, right? We were talking about that before we even started recording. When it gets crazy like that, then I can go, okay, either I'm not done until I get that one thing that's on there, or I'm going to do that first so that it's just done. So having it there visually is really nice. And then I actually have a column that's done. So I always put, let's say so today's Wednesday as we're recording this, I have Wednesday and then right next to it's done. And then Thursday, Friday. So I can move it to different days if I need to, but there is something satisfying about moving it to done. And the other thing in Trello is on the card, you can create checklists. So stupid thing, but if I'm packing for a golf trip, I need to make sure I get my charger or my laptop charger or I make a checklist and I just check them off as I do it. And then it turns green when it's done. And so for packing, I do the checklists all the time. So so those are my two big ones, are Outlook and the calendar, and then Trello.
I need to look into Trello a little bit more because I've gotten away from it because I didn't like it for a little while, but I don't think I was utilizing it fully. So this is part of the reason I want to do it is we use completely different platforms. And frankly, I'm always open to new ones. So if you're listening and you have a suggestion, make sure to let us know because that'd be awesome. I'm a big Google Calendar person, which doesn't always work. Truthfully, I still am kind of trying to figure that flaw out because we use Outlook for work. And so getting those meetings, I have to manually transfer them, which is annoying. However, John and I have a shared calendar on our Google Calendar, which is really nice to have. So when he's on work trips and things like that, I always have it in my calendar, which is just really nice to have, especially he's gone a lot. So that's just nice to have and know when he's gone and when he's going to be back and what time his flights are and if I need to pick him up. And then I do a little bit of time blocking on there. So I like to have the Google Calendar. It just fits with my aesthetics a little bit better. The other one that I've been using for a while is Notion. It's a lot less popular, and I'm aware of that. However, I like the capabilities that it has to do so much more. I want, and I still haven't mastered Notion, so that's why I'm saying if everybody has an idea, let me know. I want somewhere that's just a home base where I can have all my links there, and somewhere where I can have my cheat sheets of pricing codes and this and calculations and our shipper numbers and our account numbers. I wish there was just somewhere where I could put it all together. The other one that I've heard of, if you're listening and want like a suggestion is to try, is X Tiles. Like the letter X Tiles. It's supposed to be kind of a dumbed down version. Not dumbed down, that feels mean, but a simpler version of Notion. So it's less of like building your own systems, and it just kind of does it for you kind of thing. But I really like Notion for home base of like adding to-do lists and adding my daily calendar. And you can kind of create Trello boards inside of Notion, but I haven't managed it perfectly. So like this is where I'm kind of asking for 2 cents, but you can get templates and stuff like that have been really, really nice. It's one of the things I'd like to do for some of our processes at the office is kind of create like a Notion template where it's all kind of a home base. Yeah,
and you've shown me Notion. I find Notion to be a little bit more complex, whereas Trello is just simplistic and I can just do it. But prettier. Notion's prettier, and I know you like that.
Yes.
For me, Trello does everything I need. That, and honestly, the thing that I've been doing a better job of when I talk about my calendars, I'm starting to try and put those proactive projects in my calendar.
Smart.
That being said, it's like I find that I put it over here in Trello, and then I can take the time to schedule it in the calendar. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so
you kind of use them together.
I don't think there's a right or a wrong way. It's one of those where however you get it done. So to Jade's point, I think we'd love to hear any cool ideas. I think we're both kind of nerds about getting stuff done. So happily.
I'm type A. Give me your type A hacks for getting ADHD type A getting stuff done. It's
just
hard.
Making up letters now.
LMNOP.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
It's product of the week time. You like that?
That's good.
This week we are talking about name badges. We both have one on if you didn't pick that up if you are watching the video yet. Mine may or may not say a curse word because I may or may not have got it in Vegas, but that is not important.
Yeah.
These are the magnetic name badges from our friends at Vault. And yes, I'm giving them a shout out because name badges are something people don't realize we do, I think, sometimes. So I think it's important to mention every now and again, specifically the name badge programs where you can kind of pay for them up front and order them as you need them. So if you have a quicker turnover with staff and things like that, a lot of banks and things like that like to do these. So the magnetic name badges are my personal favorite. And I like the magnetic because then it doesn't poke a hole in your shirt. Whereas sometimes the other ones do. But I really like name badges.
Yeah, so when I think of name badges, you don't go, oh my God, that is like the coolest whatever product.
Right.
But to me, it solves a problem. And our pals at Vault have what they call the badge release program. And so let's just say you're even a small organization and you're only going to need 25 of them or whatever. You can then you order them in advance and then you can order them one at a time. So you go in, you create your own portal, you type in the name. So there's no chance that we misspell it.
Right.
And then they ship you one with your logo and all that set up. It takes a thing that is complicated and makes it really simple. To me, that's the beauty of their badge release program. And they do a really nice job, lots of great quality. You can do the plastic, do the metal, do all that stuff. So we're big fans.
And it narrows it down. It's less complicated because I feel like badges can get weirdly complicated. And so they're a headache for some people. So they don't want to deal with them. Whereas the system that they have just makes it really, really easy. You go in and have your own little login. It's so quick and easy. So just thought I'd mention it.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Love it.
So yeah, it's a product, but it's also like a program that just really makes your life easier. So that's a good one. And then we always end the show with our shout out. The thing that we always say is that, hey, if you have somebody, some organization, anybody doing good work in your area, an event, anything cool that you would like to see us shout out, please let us know. We're looking to spread the good, right? Spread the marketing joy. And so if you have any, please let us know. This is actually one of the things I really look forward to in the podcast. And so I asked the team, I actually had a couple of ideas, and then I asked the team today, and they reminded me that the 3rd annual East Central Ohio Shark Tub Business Plan Pitch Competition is coming up next week. So what is that? So it's Thursday, April 24th from 6 to 8 p.m. at Zane State College in Zanesville. So if you're a small business that hasn't been in business for 5 years, so less than 5 years, you can be a part of this. And then you set up and the public comes and checks out your business. And then people vote with their dollars. And the people that make, like, I think it's the top 3 get to pitch to the whole group. And then the judges then select from the top 3. And last year, in that interest of transparency, Simple Signs and Print was one of the finalists of, and was one of the finalists of the top 3. And so that was really cool. And he's actually going to sponsor some signs for it this year.
Oh, cool.
I found it to be one of those where it was like, the energy in the room was cool. It showcased some businesses that were much like maybe smaller and we're still trying to get it out. And then there was actually some students who had some really small businesses that were just getting started. So really cool event, Shark Tub Business Plan Pitch Competition. Again, it's Thursday, April 24th at Zane State College from 6 to 8 p.m. I think there's still time if you want to register. I'm not sure by the time this drops, but definitely worth checking out. So that's our shout out for the week.
I love it. Go cheer everybody on that is participating this year, if nothing else.
Yeah. Well, cool. That is going to wrap up, I think, unless there's anything else you need to get off your chest. Then this will wrap up this edition of the Better Merch, Better Marketing podcast. Once again, Better Merch, Better Marketing is brought to you by Hasseman Marketing. If you want to learn more about us, just go to hassemanmarketing.com. I would encourage you to get the Target Marketing Playbook or the HR Hiring Playbook. Those are free resources, regardless of whether you're in the marketing space or in the HR space, and those are yours for free. So, Jade, put your name badge down. Thanks for taking the time to do this. Appreciate you. And we'll see you next time.